Their regular meeting. With a special section in the beginning. Offering tips. On peer-to-peer support. If you have any interest in maybe being a member of Safer Spaces, or just learning some of these techniques, I really encourage you to attend.
I'm William. I'm with media. We'll be posting events on Facebook. Within the next few hours. I highly encourage you all. To share them. If you don't know how to share them. Please come see me. And I'll tell you how. If you're a member of media. Or would like to be a member of media. Please come see me. By that big tree. Right after GA. For like 2 minutes.
Hi everyone. I'm also Eleanor. You probably see me around. I've facilitated a couple of times. And I've got a really personal announcement. Which is that me and my partner are headed up to New York this weekend. To occupy New York. Indefinitely. I think about through January. And I'm really going to miss Occupy Richmond. I love you guys. And I want to stay in touch. And you can find me on Facebook.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Sir. There was a desire expressed to replace certain items that were lost or destroyed by the police department of Richmond during the raid. I've made contact with one of those persons. He is waiting for me after GA for the replacement of a blanket and a sleeping bag. If you're able to facilitate this need, see me after GA. Love y'all.
Any other announcements?
I know I've been talking with a lot of people about the idea of having like a 3 to 4 city tour to talk about resources, share education and love. And I was just maybe want to get together by that tree. After GA. To see if anyone has any ideas. About when would be a good time. Or how to execute that. Thank you.
Hi guys. I'm Josh. Real quick, no matter what happens today, whether we're in occupation or not, there's still a revolutionary book club. If you're interested in learning about past revolutions, or know a lot about them already and want to share those, or if you want to share your knowledge, let's get together and do it. Thinking tomorrow at noon. Maybe Crossroads. Well, I guess we'll figure that out by the end of this GA. Let's all learn. Valid.
Any other announcements? Cool.
Okay. This point on the agenda. We're going to have open stack. To talk about. Occupy now. Occupy nomadically. Occupy later. Occupy but don't stay overnight. Whatever the concerns are. Next stack.
I brought last night.
night a proposal for a nomadic occupation to the GA. A lot of you have the distributed new proposal that I think addresses many of the concerns voiced last night. I'd like to emphasize this proposition can be implemented at any time. So if we decide to occupy tonight, don't make a decision on this proposal. This can be brought up later. If it needs to be bumped from the agenda to further our occupation goals, that is perfectly fine with me. Thank you.
I wanted to speak about the location. Not in particular. But in general. I think we should stay somewhere. That we're not allowed to stay. Movements that are asking permission. Individual parts of the movement. That are asking permission. And receiving it. Are not growing. They are not engaging with dialogue. With the community. Because there is no conflict. So without generating, I don't want people to be arrested. But I think it's probably a necessary consequence. And I'll try to be there next time. When stuff goes down. One exception. If it's a nomadic occupation. Meaning that there are satellite occupations. I think the home base should be in a legal place. To store everything we need. And keep communications open. Regardless of what happens with police.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I was involved with about 12 other people. Earlier today. Discussing options for future occupation. There were a couple of points that we decided were important. And we wanted to share them with you. First, emphasize strategy. The decision that we make on where to occupy needs to emphasize a strategic vision for why we're doing it and why that location is important. A few other things. Basic health and safety is most important. There are acceptable and unacceptable risks involved with occupying. They need to be discussed in an open fashion. Also, formulation of house rules is also a priority. We need to know what brings us together and what pulls us apart. We suggest 3 to 7 days of intensive planning, culminating with our march to the occupation location. We decide. These are suggestions. Take them into consideration, please.
To address the man before me. His concerns. First, the nomadic occupation structure isn't so much avoiding the police as it is embracing that they will eventually come. It is foolish to occupy anywhere and assume the police will not come. All this nomadic thing is accepting that and setting up the infrastructure to be able to move without 1 week of downtime like we currently are experiencing. We are unfortunately losing numbers. We gained some, but regardless, being able to move from one spot to another and reach out to various communities, helping them prosper is very important. Clarification.
Clarification. I thought that the nomadic occupation was a planned movement. From different public places. In the city, and not just preparedness, such as having things on wheels, locations for storage. So I thought those were two different ideas.
You are very well. Do you want to do it, or
I have a response.
Go ahead.
I have a response.
Have you seen this?
Have you seen this?
The nomadism idea is both. I think that strategically, planned movement would be very powerful. However, it would be up to the GA to decide when and where movement would occur. If it was chosen to be used as a responsive measure to ensure a continuing occupation, I believe that would be an appropriate use of the proposed idea.
To further elaborate, and not quite elaborate, but summarize, because I'm getting a lot of these. It's both reactive and proactive. And that's all I'm going to say.
Another way that has been discussed to approach this, where are we going to occupy how many places? Thing is the idea of satellite occupation. And a base camp. If we had a single base camp, perhaps in a public space to make a statement, a couple of nights a week, we could go into one of our neighborhoods, set up tents for 30 people, hold GAs, meet with the community, get to know who they are, listen to what they have to say, and then have physical outreach, a somewhat nomadic occupation format, and direct action, simultaneously, instead of getting bogged down in single ideas. It seems like we could think about this. Just tossing it out there. Well, I like the idea of satellite occupations. And I like the idea of eventually setting up tents in different areas. We should be careful of looking like we are invading their neighborhoods. We should go to them. Have a discussion with them first. Before we go in and set up tents in their neighborhoods. Otherwise, we won't look good to them.
We've got 4 more on the stack. After that, we'll talk about whether we want to open it up for more.
After that, we'll talk about whether we want to.
Very important.
I think it's very important
to be aware of their own personal level of involvement. As someone who doesn't occupy a tent throughout the night, I'm not going to stand in the way of any decision. Some people are a lot more hardcore. And I think their position is very important. I just think we need to consider that.
We've got 2 more on the stack. After that, we'll talk about whether we want to continue.
Mic check. I think it's really important that we do occupy during the winter. It sends a message that we won't back down. I also think we do need some serious planning to go into the organization of the occupation. What we need to do is go in and instead of in one day, more than what we set up in 2 weeks. And have a strategy to break it down in just as much time. I've been in this occupation for about 2 weeks now. I have not slept out once. I believe that we are the 99%. I think the majority of those people think you're crazy. I want those people in this discussion. I think that we should not camp this winter unless it's short term. And well thought out. We should focus more on direct action and getting people from South Side, North Side, basically the people that aren't here now in this conversation. That's it.
People who don't have strong feelings, but are nevertheless willing to sit down and think about what order we should go in. If those, clarifying question.
Could we hear all the locations? Really quick.
And I will go. Let the location people meet over by that tree. And I will also come over and bring this list. Okay, what I have is Oregon Hill Overlook. Festival Park. Monument Avenue.
Somewhere.
City Hall. Monroe Park. Capitol Grounds. And that's it. I'm kind of baffled now as to how to proceed. It sounds like what a process.
Can we go around and say our second choice to see what the next energy is for?
Okay, yeah.
Just because I think we're seeing a lot of energy for certain places.
Yeah.
It's 4-1 for Monroe Park, just to let you know. I was keeping track of everybody's
Okay.
vote.
Let's just get a second just so we can kind of see. Bringing 2 to that group is
I
good.
think my second choice would be Oregon Hill Overlook.
Where exactly is that in Oregon
It's
Hill?
at the end of Oregon Hill.
Right, like by the Harbor.
And it is a 24-hour, it's not a park.
Are we by the river then?
Okay.
No,
Okay, so that's going to make it Oregon Hill Overlook.
it's not by the river. It is on a hill.
Sunset Law Blue Street.
I would go with. I haven't seen Festival Park, so it's possible that could be it, but I have to abstain on that one. Otherwise, it would be Oregon Hill Overlook.
I don't think we got electricity there.
I don't know what, I'm not from this area, so.
Okay. We're Oregon Hill Overlook, City Hall, and Monument. Yes.
Just a quick question, why was Canal Plaza